they get quality teaching. You know, everybody can get quality teaching. And I know, I remember from SNCS, there was a lot of talk about like how it used to be, and then like how we done progressed to where we at now, and where else what's left to go.
So, talking about from SNCS, what we took from SNCS. Okay, so.
And just like what you might have already heard about QECR.
So what they told us was, they informed us on like how quality education should look, and then they compared the quality education to the education that we get nowadays. And they was like, now is that an education you think you should be having, or do you deserve better? And they was saying like we the young people that should start to move. We supposed to pick up the move, quality education.
Okay, so let me just back up for a sec, because I just realized, like, for the folks that were there, like SNCC, it might be familiar, but can somebody just talk about like what is SNCC, like what does that stand for, and like who were they in the first place? Like what was the event that we went to in April?
They the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, and they was doing civil rights. They was some college students, and they toured the South, getting people ready to vote, doing civil rights then.
So they were like the young people that were the organizers, like during the civil rights movement. So everything that like went down, and then I'm sure you guys know that history, but like Bob Moses was very key, instrumental in organizing around the voting rights work that happened here in Mississippi and across the South. So the SNCC, that group that was real active in the '60s. So what some of us went to in April, and different YPP sites like went to this meeting. It was celebrating the 50th anniversary of the founding of SNCC. So it was like 50 years, now down the line. So pretty much they were like old school organizers that we got to interact with and talk with. And, they listened to us. So one of the things that we're thinking about now is that like education being like one of the pieces that was like never finished from the civil rights movement. So now we have like right to vote, we have right to all these other rights, but in terms of education, like there's no basic right to education as like a citizen of the United States. So just going back to like the Constitution. So right now, like the Constitution, I mean, it seems like pretty far off like document, like maybe we're not really connected to it. But it actually doesn't say anything about like education in the Constitution. So there's nothing that like guarantees a right to education. Like all of that, like anything about education is in like each state has their own state constitution, and so it's set up so you get like differences in schools across states. So state to state, your educational experience might look different. Or like in school districts, like I don't know, do you have like friends or folks like in other school districts that might have different resources than like the school system you're in? Anyway, so that's one of the things that we're trying to take on now. Basically, that like schools, should be equitable and should provide like high quality educational experiences like for all of their students, all of their children. So YPP's role in the work. So far, like YPP has been active like around the work that you all do, like math literacy. And I think the way you kind of see that is like math literacy, starts like with whatever, like that's in the realm of like the individual, and then that can expand out to like community work. So I know Albert and Kevin are talking about like doing neighbor circles like in community. And then that can expand out to like transforming so education policy work, which is like advocacy work that could really change the laws that will make us be able to have like better schools, better resources, whatever we want like for our communities. So that's like kind of like the background, just of like what the whole like initiative is, or like the ideas behind it. And I'm gonna see if we can get copies. The book that's going around. One of the things we're thinking about are like pulling out some of the chapters and seeing how we can kind of use those as like study sessions, study guides for us at the sites. But one of the things I wanted to get into, how many people have done the exercise around like educational experiences before? Right then? Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so if everybody could just like pick a card, pass it around. And so this is like an exercise kind of modeling one of the workshops that we're doing like along these tour stops. So the thought and the thing that we're trying to think through is like how we can kind of bring some of these conversations to more students. So whether this is something that could be done like with outreach sites or like on a Saturday session. So that's, I mean, if you guys keep that in mind, think about like what it might look like to start having these conversations locally. But what we're gonna do, if folks could just take a minute, and if anybody needs pens, we have some extras, and jot down like what is your most empowering educational experience. So this is like personally, this is your I'm sorry. Personally, like for you, like what was, it could be your most or like one really empowering educational experience that you've had. And then also like what is one like disempowering educational experience that you've had. So if folks could take a few minutes to work on that, and then we're gonna just kind of break into some small groups in a second.
You want us to write what you're talking about right here?
Yeah, like on the front. Yeah, so it's just picking like two experiences that you've had like in terms of your own education. One that was like really empowering and one that was really